Let's do it. Football Sunday, week 2, NFL season. Man, Jets at home against the Buffalo Bills. First of all, 2 straight home games to start the season. I don't know that I love. Jets at home against the Buffalo Bills, and the Giants, of course, on the road in Dallas to take on the Cowboys. Cowboys in the midst of a mini bye. Hit me up, Ty Butler. We're on X. We are on YouTube. Subscribe to the YouTube page. And, of course, getting it popping on IG as well. The question today is better chance to upset. Jets or Giants? Who's got the better chance to upset? Hit me up on the socials. I want to hear from y'all in the chat as well, man. Because we started this show. We are making our way into the streaming space. And we want to grow this thing as big as possible. I'm still cooking on the radio at ESPN New York. I was on TV last night, SNY. Got home just in time to watch that Canelo Crawford fight, which, listen, if it had not ended at close to 3 a.m., I probably would have hopped on the stream to talk about what was one of the biggest fights of my lifetime. Certainly listen, that was a tour de force by Bud Crawford. He was an underdog against the fighter of our generation. Many people called Canelo Alvarez, and rightfully so, the GOAT. And Bud Crawford went up in there as the underdog after having to rise up in weight and gave it to him. To the point where Canelo, toward the end of that fight, looked frustrated. And there were a lot of questions we had going into it. How was Bud going to deal with having to go up in weight so much against the fighter of the generation? And I thought Max Kellerman, who was sensational on the broadcast, brought up an excellent question. And it was, Bud's faced a lot of fighters. Obviously, none to the magnitude of Canelo. So he looked great to start. Once Canelo hit him, how is he going to be able to rebound from that? Canelo hit him a couple times, but Bud was in full control of this fight. So, listen, absolute gem. I don't regret staying up for it because it certainly delivered. And I thought it was an all-time performance by a legend, Bud Crawford, masterpiece. And if he decides to call it quits as a boxing fan, I'd be disappointed just because I no longer get to watch him. But just, full scope, big picture, what is there left for him to accomplish? Every guy you've wanted to see him fight, he's done that. He's emerged victorious. And that was, if he does end up retiring, him putting the finishing pieces on a legendary Hall of Fame career. So congrats to Bud Crawford. And by the way, no shade to Canelo Alvarez. Canelo, does it knock him down a touch? Obviously, because we've got to give Bud that GOAT crown. But I want to give both of these guys credit. And I promise you, we'll get to the football. It's a football Sunday. But I want to give both of these guys credit from this standpoint. And this is an indictment on boxing, where we don't always get the biggest fights. We don't, and then when we do get those big fights, it feels like it's much delayed. Mayweather, Pacquiao, like how long did that take? They were in their 40s, and then the fight wasn't great overall. So for these two gentlemen who at the top of their class in this sport, that, let's be honest, to some degree is struggling with its popularity, for them to agree to this fight and put on a show for the masses. Don't love that it went to almost 3 a.m. I give them a ton of credit. The broadcast was excellent. Big up to Netflix. I thought the entire team, John Anik, Max Kellerman, Andre Ward, were phenomenal throughout that fight. And it was highly entertaining, engaging, a thorough masterpiece by Bud Crawford. And, I was rooting for him. I've gotten a chance to meet him. Big up to my guys, Ak and Barack from DAZN. I was one of the producers on their show, and that's where I got a chance to meet Bud Crawford, and they're close with him. They're close with both the fighters, so I know it was a conflict. But seeing that performance, it made it worth it. And it was an excellent appetizer for week 2 of the NFL season. Hit me up, Ty Butler. Which team has a better chance at the upset? Is it the Giants or is it the New York Jets? Hit me up in the chat. I'm on YouTube as well, and we can go through this. Before we get to my answer, I want to share this story courtesy of Adam Schefter. There is no sense of urgency in the New York Giant organization to bench Russell Wilson and start rookie Jackson Dart, sources told ESPN. Now, it doesn't mean a change can't come soon at the quarterback position, which those are conflicting thoughts. There's no sense of urgency, but it doesn't mean the change couldn't come soon. Okay, but the Giants would prefer that it not happen anytime soon, according to sources. New York would prefer to continue to be patient, let Wilson play well, give Dart the time he needs to develop, sources said. And, he goes on to talk about the continued absence of Andrew Thomas and how that has had a tremendous negative impact on the Giants' offensive line. He is doubtful, expected to miss his second consecutive game, so on and so forth. A lot of thoughts on the Giants. Let's start here. When the season first started and I looked at this schedule, I said the perfect spot to bring in Jackson Dart would be week 13. That is a Monday night game in Foxborough against a Patriots team that I expect to be improved. But we'll see, in Foxborough. But then it sets him up to have his second start not come until a couple weeks later, because it's Foxborough week 13, week 14 bye. Then it's home, 3 of the last games at home, Washington, Minnesota. You're in Vegas for the Raiders, and now you're home for the Cowboys to end the season. So 5 games, nice little sample size to see what Jackson Dart is working with after what we saw during the preseason. I then changed my stance and said, all right, if you want to, because there was an early appetite to see Jackson Dart because of how well he performed in the preseason. If you want to have me bend a little bit, how about we go week 10 in Chicago? Now, the Bears are expected to be an improved team. Could be looking at 0-2 after today. But in Chicago, week 10, then it's home for Green Bay. Green Bay looks scary, man. And that defense, like quick aside, as much as people were excited about the potential of that offense, and now Jaden Reed's gone 6 to 8 weeks. That's a bummer. Kraft is out as well. As much as people were excited to see that offense, Jordan Love dealt with some injuries last year. That defense, man, that defense with Micah Parsons, that pass rush, getting to the quarterback, had Jaden Daniels scrambling. They had Jaden Daniels looking like a rookie. They had Jaden Daniels looking every bit like the quarterback we expected to see if we were predicting he was going to have a sophomore slump. But anyway, week 11, got the Packers. Then you're on the road for week 12 in Detroit. And then you know what I just said. Week 13, New England. That's a 4-game sample size for Jackson Dart. He then has a reset moment because of the bye in week 14. Then it's home for Washington, Minnesota, on the road in Vegas, home for Dallas. We'll see if Dallas is playing for something in week 18. So I kind of moved my stance and said, all right, 8 games is a good enough sample size for Jackson Dart. That Giant offense I saw last week looked so anemic that I get this from the fans, the knee-jerk reaction would be, we got to switch this up. Russell Wilson, it's not just, and let me clean that up. It's not just a knee-jerk reaction, because it's not just us responding to what we saw last week. This is an extended period of time where Russell has looked cooked. Last 5 games of the year for Pittsburgh, that offense was an abomination. They should have won that AFC North division. Coughed it up, finished on a 5-game losing streak. Couple losses to Baltimore. They could not score more than 17 points. And then you watch what happened in week 1, where it just didn't look like they had any clue as to what was happening. And that becomes an indictment on everybody, y'all. You had all these weeks to prepare. You don't score a touchdown against a Washington defense that just this past Thursday was getting gashed by Jordan Love. And I get it. The Packers, they're on a different level. But to score 6 points in an NFL game, I mean, even Justin Fields, we'll get to the Jets in a moment, was moving that ball up and down the field. No pun intended. For the Giants to score 6 points against a Washington defense that none of us expect to be great is embarrassing. It's embarrassing. So again, you run through the list of who's to blame for it. We'll start with the offensive line because in their defense, not having Andrew Thomas, and you look at their splits, what this team looks like with and without him, there's a reason why we keep talking about him every week. There's a reason why the Giants are going to be in a tricky situation when it comes to that contract. There's a reason why that guy is discussed to the degree that he is because he is such a valuable piece to that offensive line, which means that you don't lose him and still look the same. But they've got to figure something out. And you certainly don't want to throw Jackson Dart behind that just egregious offensive line. They've got to have some type of offensive fluidity today that is much better than what we saw last week. Because even if the Giants are losing games, what we can't have happen is for a team coached by an offensive guru to be once again one of the worst offenses in football. That can't happen. So it's going to fall on the general manager for not doing enough to improve this team on that side of the ball. It's going to fall on the head coach who was brought here because of our belief and the Giant organization belief that he was an offensive mastermind. And it's also going to fall on Russell Wilson, who at this point, I think he's good for like one turn back the clock game. But it's not like you're going to be expecting that week in and week out. So today is very interesting because, look, I was wrong about the Giants last week. I said that they were going to win that game 23-20. I thought that they would have one of those performances defensively where they keep them in it and that Russ in the offense late would make one play and win the game. I was dead wrong. Today, and maybe this is an overreaction to what I saw last week, today I think they've got 0% chance to win this game. At Stanislaw says, bro, he looks small behind that line. Yeah, and he can't move. That's the thing with Russ. Early in his career, we didn't consider him to be one of the best quarterbacks in football. He had a good arm, and he was good when it came to his decision-making. The defense, when Seattle was at its peak, was obviously exceptional. The run game and everything. But Russ, as he's aged, that lack of mobility that he once had is becoming a huge problem. And we saw it last year with the Steelers. Which is why when I was on radio all throughout the summer, I kept asking, like, this defense is expected to be not just good, but fantastic. We're talking about top 5 in the NFL. So can the Russell Wilson we saw last year just be a touch better than what he was? And can he elevate this offense just a little bit? And if he can't, then the 5.5 wins over under all of a sudden becomes 3.5 wins. We're giving them that Saints game in week 5. I don't know. Like the Giants that I saw last week could very well lose to the Saints. So in my analysis of this game today against the Cowboys, I think Dallas is going to score 30 points. I think Dallas will score 30 points in this game today. And for all the Giant fans who are quick on the trigger to call Dak Prescott mid, I mean, calling him mid, and yet he's beaten you 13 straight times? The Cowboys have won 8 straight games against you. So that mid quarterback has your number. And I think that mid quarterback is going to hang 30 on your defense today. The Cowboys offense looked pretty damn good last week against the Eagles. And then we had a lightning delay, and both teams, I thought, kind of squandered opportunities after that. I think the Cowboys score 30 points today. So the question becomes, are the Giants capable of matching them in that 30-point range? Can they even get to 20? We saw them score 6 last week. Come on, y'all. We got to be honest. Because I did talk to a number, and this is where I hate to be that guy, but I really don't. I will admit I was wrong. I'm not going to run from that. I was dead wrong about the Giants in week 1. So I'm not going to sit here and alter the narrative. But I was never of the mindset that was going to be one of many wins this season. I said that would be one of like 5 or 6 wins. So they're now 0-1. There were a couple Giant fans, and not just a couple. They were showing up in droves, and I loved it. I appreciated that energy. As we're trying to get through the dog days of summer, I mean, shout out to the Mets and the Yankees, but there wasn't a ton to talk about back in August. So I'm on the radio in full appreciation of the Giant fans who showed up with confidence. I said, all right, now you're starting to make me feel like amongst the fan base, at least there is a sense of optimism. Okay. And they showed up in droves. I had people telling me the Giants could get to the NFC Championship game. Now, obviously, I shot that down. They were crazy. But there were folks talking about they could surprise people. ESPN, company I work for, get up in first take. The Giants could be a sleeper team. Not to win it all, but to be a thorn in the side of these other superior opponents. Well, one of those superior opponents was Washington, and Washington handled them pretty easily. And now today you got a Dallas team coming off of a loss to the Eagles, a game they very well could have won with extra rest, and I think that they're going to come out gunning. The Deron Bland, that injury I think is significant for their defense, but the Cowboys have had no issue putting up points against the Giants in the past. So I'm looking at that offense for New York, and I'm saying, listen, Dable, maybe it's unfair, but sports drenched with unfair commentary. If you are the offensive guru that many people have heralded you to be, I've got to see you show some life on that side of the ball. You already had Malik Neighbors frustrated last week. Eerily similar to Zach Wilson. I'm a Jet fan watching Zach Wilson and Garrett Wilson. Garrett was frustrated first couple years. So, fam, we got to be, even if they lose, we got to see a pulse on this offense. They lose, that's all I'm saying. Hit me up in the chat. We on the stream getting it popping. Ty Butler. So where you can find me all over the socials. I want to hear from the Giant fans in the chat. That offense, bad last week. Terrible. All right, let's get to the Jets. And this is not the homer pick. But I do think the Jets have a better opportunity to win this game today than the Giants. The problem for the Jets is, in the past, they've relied, and Rich Samini had this nugget. They've relied on the Josh Allen turnover. They've relied on the Josh Allen turnover in the past. Has not happened. Let me pull up the Rich Samini tweet. And now my voice is giving out. Give me a moment, y'all. All right, Stanislaw. My voice. Stanislaw is coming at me. Saying, says the man in a jet hat. Did you see the fourth quarter Josh Allen had last week? I agree with you, Stanish. If the Josh Allen that showed up last week shows up again this week against the Jets, zero chance to win this game. They've got no shot. Conversely, if the Bills defense that showed up last week shows up at MetLife Stadium in this game, Jets have a chance. Now, the problem is that Jet offense, if we juxtapose it with the Ravens offense, I mean, it's no contest. We're talking about a two-time league MVP in Lamar, and as good as Breece Hall was, he's no Derrick Henry. Receiving core with Zay, Bateman, and DeAndre Hopkins. So there is a lot that you are banking on if you're the Jets that I just don't think translates if we're doing the side-by-side Jet-Raven thing. But here is why I come in with a little bit more confidence in the Jets. And it's not even that I'm predicting the Jets to win the game. I've got some weird optimism that's arrived in the last couple days. But I think that the Jets have a better chance to win this game. One, they're at home. Two, I just saw their offense put up 32 in a game against a Pittsburgh defense that I guess we thought would be fairly decent this year, especially with what they have on that defensive line. I mean, TJ and Highsmith and Cam Hayward, right? I just think the Jets are a better team than the Giants. And even if the Bills are better than the Cowboys, there's more to be optimistic about coming off of last week for the Jets than you have the Giants. So again, I'm not predicting the Jets win this game. I would be elated if they pulled off this upset, because think about the conversation we'd be having later on today. By the way, I'm going to be on New York Post Sports. I'm going to be on doing a post-game show with Dexter Henry, so I'll put that on here on X. So make sure you guys check that out. And I'll be doing a stream tomorrow to recap all the games. But even if the Jets don't score 32 points, I think their defense can be better than it was last week. I mean, Brandon Stevens and that everyone not named Sauce Gardner just was awful in that game. And I just think that Bills defense can be had. So this is one I expect to be high scoring, closely contested. And if it's high scoring, closely contested, that favors the team with the better quarterback. As we saw last week, Josh Allen, with a chance to win the game, is going to win the game. And I guess 2 years ago, week one, the Xavier Gibson game, he did not do that. But that Jet defense was a lot better, at least at that point. So I don't know that any of these teams win today. In fact, I'm predicting we see losses for both. But you know how encouraging it would be if the Jets came out of here with a W? Man, 1-1 through your first two games? Yo, we'd be celebrating like it was 1968, 1969. Because I'm not here for the moral victories. And I told y'all this last week with the Jet fans coming up to me like, yeah, at least we played well. Wow, Justin Fields. I'm not here for that. I've seen enough losing, y'all. It's been a decade since they finished above 500. We know they've got the longest active playoff drought in professional sports. I'm not here for the moral victories. Not this guy. I get it's a new regime and you want to have some time. I get all that. Win the damn game. Because that is the best evaluator. That is the most effective way to evaluate a shift in culture. Are you able to win games? Because the Jet team I saw last week that was up 9, well positioned to come home with the W, could not close the deal. And it's not all that dissimilar from former Jet teams having leads. They blew 6 fourth quarter leads last year. And last week, it was what? A fumble on a kickoff return that allowed Pittsburgh to score 2 touchdowns just like that. So when there's a stench in that locker room, when there is a group of guys who just don't know how to win, the best way to cure that is winning games. So this right here would be like a shock to the system. This right here is like, what y'all take in the morning? Those espresso shots? This is what that is. Jets beat the Bills today, because that's another tough game they have coming up. On the road in Tampa Bay, and I think it's the Bucs home opener. Todd Bowles just got his extension. You win this game today. Man, I don't want to go too crazy, but win this game today. Then you split the next 2, where you're on the road in Tampa, on the road in Miami. Miami is hemorrhaging. That might be screaming, blow it up. That puts you at 2-2. Then it's 2 tough games, Dallas and Denver. Yo, I'm not saying they got to make the playoffs. Can I get 7 wins? Is that too much to ask? And I bet I get to the end of the season, because I know myself very well. And it's 7 wins, and I'm like, man, all you had to do was win 2 more. You didn't blow that Pittsburgh game. You'd be, right there in playoff positioning. So the key to winning this game today, and here's where I'll give Josh Allen a lot of credit, because I don't know if you can call it a Josh Allen critic. I just have a problem with how he's been covered. The people anointing him as the best quarterback in football when Mahomes wins all the Super Bowls and Lamar wins all the MVPs. I feel like he's been coronated prematurely. He's an awesome quarterback. He's excellent. He's fun to watch. Unless he's playing against your team. Where I give him the most credit is, last couple years, he's cleaned up the turnovers. Josh was a roller coaster. Josh would be rolling for 2 straight quarters, then have some ridiculous, just ill-advised pass attempt picked off, completely changed the game. We saw it, by the way. We saw it in that opener, the Monday night game, the Aaron Rodgers carrying the flag, the Xavier Gibson game. We saw it. Josh got picked off, 3 times in that game? He's cleaned that part of his repertoire up, where he's still a gunslinger, but he's gotten a lot more accurate, and he protects the football, which is what the best quarterbacks in football do. He takes care of it. He'll run, but he's not going to put himself in harm's way. And the Jets were capitalizing off of his recklessness. His turnovers, like a lot of other opponents, kept the Jets in the game. If you look up at the box score today and he's got 0 turnovers, I don't know how the Jets win this game. Ty Butler, yo, hit me up in the chat. Want to hear from y'all. We are talking, which team has the better chance at an upset? Is it the New York Jets or the Giants? How about this from Rich Samini? If Aaron Glenn wants to change the culture, the Jets need to take a stand in the AFC East. What a crazy stat I'm about to give to y'all. Spitting your coffee out on your way to church service. Yeah, you're about to go to the altar to pray for a Jet miracle today. Jets, 6-24 in division games since the start of 2020. That is, as you would have guessed, the worst in the NFL. 6-24 in division games. Same span. Let's flip it. and reverse it. 24-6 for the Bills since 2020. Best record in the league. It's why they are always near the top or atop the conference, because they're able to take away or take advantage of the tomato cans in the division. And that's not to discredit the Bills. You got to beat who's on your schedule. And the Bills do something that the Ravens and the Bengals struggle with. That's closing games, taking care of teams you're supposed to be. So the Bills have been doing that at a high clip since the start of 2020. And now, this week, they play a Jet team that has told us it's different around here. Things are different. We've got a new sheriff in town. And if that new sheriff in town is to prove he is a new sheriff, cut down on the penalties, limit the turnovers, and win division games. Win division games. Win division games. Hit us up in the chat, y'all. Who you think has the best chance pulling off the upset today? MJJ at MJJ256 says Jets by a lot, and he's a Giant fan, has no confidence. I mean, how could you have confidence in the Giants after what we saw a week ago with that offense just an abomination? And that's being kind. We can go around the NFL. I took Survivor Pool picks against the spread. I took the Cowboys in my Survivor Pool today. In a couple of Survivor Pools, I took the Cowboys. 5.5 is the spread. I mean, in Survivor, they just got to win outright. I like the Cowboys a lot in this game. I think Dak has 30 points in him. And the Giants, based on what we've seen for the last year or so, they can't score that amount of points. And then Andrew Thomas' injury puts a wrinkle into their offensive line. An offensive line that looks a lot better with him, but we still have a ton of questions when he is in there. So I took the Dallas Cowboys in my Survivor Pool pick. I feel confident in them. And then so there's a Survivor Pool that I'm in where you take two teams. I took the Cowboys, and I also took did I take the Ravens? Yeah, the Ravens. I mean, come on, Baltimore. Baltimore, after that horrifying collapse in the fourth quarter of that game against Buffalo. They were up 15 with like 4 minutes left. You're home to the Browns, where you're 11.5 point favorites. The reason why I don't trust the spread is because what Baltimore has shown you the last couple of years, they'll get out to a big lead. We'll see that the highlights. If you're not watching a game, Red Zone will show Lamar Jackson running into the end zone to put the Ravens up 24-3, and then all of a sudden, fourth quarter, it's a one-possession game. So I don't trust Baltimore to cover big spreads. Ironically enough, I trust them more in games against the best teams because they tend to play down to their competition. So my Survivor Pool pick in the ESPN New York competition, I took the Cowboys. I'm in a Nick Wright Survivor Pool. I took the Cowboys as well. But this other one that I'm in, I've got Dallas and Baltimore. All right, let's look at the comments. Don't pull up the Giants division record. Jets game going to be more watchable than the Giants. I think so too. Sad but honest Giant fan. Giant fans right now already defeated. And hit me up too, Stanish. I want to know if you were defeated before the season. Because there were some Giant fans that came into it hyped. Abdul Carter, Jackson Dart, hyped. Neighbors year 2. Yeah, you've got some pieces that you're watching to be excited about. But I guess a lot of that dampens once you look at the schedule, and Washington probably was like the most winnable of the first 4 games. You're in Dallas today. You're home on Sunday night. And here's the thing for the Giants. Oh, here's what I wonder. It's an excellent question for the Giant fans right now. So, big game today, and probably the biggest, or should I say the sexiest matchup of the season, happened in Kansas City today. And it's the Chiefs hosting the Eagles. Super Bowl rematch. couple times over. If you're the Giants, would you rather play a Chiefs team coming off of like that emotional high of winning a big game against the Eagles, and then they probably play down to their competition next week? Or would you rather play a Kansas City team that's 0-2, and I wouldn't say dead because they're the Chiefs. We're never going to count them out. But 0-2 means you're not a good team. Doesn't mean you can't recover from that. But 0-2 at that point, and I get it, it's losses to the Chargers and the Eagles. You're not a good team. And their offense, with Rashee Rice suspended and Xavier Worthy out with the shoulder, Kelsey just looks old. That offense does not look explosive at all. So if you're a Giants fan, would you rather playing an 0-2 Chiefs team or a 1-1 Chiefs team? I would say 0-2 is you're drawing dead. I'd rather than win today if I'm a Giant fan. 0-2 means that Kansas City next week, it's fighting for its life, which is crazy to say. Because Kansas City falls to 0-3, and I get there's 7 playoff teams, they're cooked in that division. That is, all of a sudden, has become one of, if not the best divisions of football, with the Chargers already beating them. Broncos made the playoffs last year. And then you got the much improved Pete Carroll, Geno Smith-led Raiders. I'd much rather play a 1-1 Kansas City team if I'm a Giants fan. See the chat. My man Trey is up in here. Personally, I think CeeDee Lamb has a huge day against an unproven Giants secondary. Trey York. My man Trey popping in from Brooklyn, Texas. The chef. Yo, Trey, here's what I want to know from you today, Trey, because you're the chef out here. What's on the menu, my guy? What's that menu looking like today? My man Trey chiming in from Texas. Yeah, I think CeeDee's going to go nuts. CeeDee, and you just sparked something in my brain that I haven't mentioned yet. CeeDee coming off of that bad performance against the Eagles. You could make the case he's the reason why they lost that game. A series of drops. CeeDee's got to be better. And you don't think he watched film? You don't think him sitting on that for 10 days? He's not going to come out swinging? And Dak immediately. I wish we could wager on this. First pass of the game from Dak. Is that not going to CeeDee Lamb? Get his confidence? And not that he's not a confident guy. You watch CeeDee. But just to get him going. Like, I got you, baby. We here. So I expect a ginormous performance from CeeDee Lamb. Steinish Law hits me. I was hyped until with a 1-score lead started. Looked like 100. Thanks to Tom Brady. Yeah, Tom Brady did say that on the broadcast because I'm watching that game as well. And I actually took the other side because I'm rooting for the Giants. I root for my picks. I root for my own takes. I'm a Jet fan. I don't hate the Giants. I also think that it would be better for my show, the shows I do on radio, the TV show on SNY, if the Giants are pretty good. So I'm not sitting here hating on the Giants. Now, do I want to see them win the Super Bowl? Nah. But I'm watching that game, and I'm like, yo, despite all of that, it's only 14-6. Can the Giants just get something going? Can we get a bomb to Malik Neighbors? Get him cooking. And all of a sudden, Washington is sitting on its heels like, man, we've thoroughly outplayed them, and we're either tied or only up 1. But Brady did on the broadcast, and you'll feel this a lot, where you just remove the score bug, you watch the teams going at it, and you're like, I feel like one team is getting blown out. And that's what I saw with the Giants last week. Felt like a blowout, even though the score in the up until the fourth quarter did not indicate that. Giant fan, I take an Eagles loss every time. So you're rooting for an Eagles loss, which I understand. But I was just looking at it from the standpoint of where it sets your team up for next week, because here is how I can relate to that. Bills Ravens Sunday night. Jets had lost earlier in the day. I'm a Lamar Jackson fan. If the Jets don't win the Super Bowl, I'd like to see Baltimore do it. I want to see Lamar cash in. He's got the MVPs. The only year but on his resume, similar to Aaron Judge in baseball, is the championship and him balling out en route to that championship. But I thought about that game and I looked at it through a different lens. And I said, as much as I would love to see Baltimore win, I cannot imagine the Bills, who in a lot of people's minds are either Super Bowl favorites, AFC favorites, or top tier contenders. I cannot imagine they are starting the season 0-2. So them winning that game might not have been the worst thing for a Jet fan. And again, I'm a Jet fan through and through. I, from a sports standpoint, detest the Buffalo Bills. I don't want to see them win, but is them winning in the best interest for my team? Because they're 0-1 and they were getting stomped out last week. So if they get stomped out at home, where they were dogs, slightly disrespectful, by a team they beat in the playoffs, they're going to come out on a mission the next week. Bills aren't starting 0-2. It's not happening. So that's why, in the back of my mind, as I'm rooting for Lamar, as I'm disgusted with that Derrick Henry fumble, as I'm annoyed with John Harbaugh for on 4th and 3, kicking the ball back to Josh Allen, who was just gashing you all game. As I'm processing all of that, I'm thinking, Bills win this game, not the worst thing for the New York Jets. I'm tweeting out some picks right now. Let's go, Trey York. All right, Trey, hit me on Twitter with those picks, man. Want to let the audience know what you got going on in that kitchen. See what's up. Week 2, man. I'm excited. It's here, baby. I appreciate all the action we're getting here on the Ty Butler show. I answered this question. Better chance to upset the Jets or the Giants? I've got the Jets with a better chance, not predicting they'll win, but they've got a better chance to upset than the New York Giants. So hit me up on all the socials. Ty D. Butler is where you can find me. We're on X, obviously. We are on that Instagram, getting it shaking, TikTok, YouTube. Follow the YouTube page, subscribe. That's what we do. And we're gonna grow this. We're gonna grow this show. Grow this show. And if you in here and you love the work that I'm doing, ain't no harm in reposting the stream so that your followers can see it. Ain't no harm in that. Ain't no harm in that at all. I'll quickly want to go through some of the games because I would tweet this every Sunday when I woke up last year. I was like, today's an excellent day to hit a big parlay. So let's go through some of the games, and you guys can chime in. We don't have to just make it Jets and Giants centric. I know there are fans everywhere tuning into the stream. So let's go through these. Some of them, I'll tell you, I wouldn't feel comfortable touching it, but where I'm leaning. So Jags, Bengals, sneaky, fun, exciting game. Big year for Trevor Lawrence. I know he's got his contract, but you're on your 3rd head coach, my G. You were this generational talent. Like, at some point, that generational talent should translate into some wins. And I get you've got a playoff win on your resume, but we remember that win more about Herbert and Staley blowing it than we do about you and throwing 4 interceptions in that first half, coming back to win it. So Jags on the road in Cincinnati, Bengals -3.5. I'm leaning Bengals here. I don't trust Cincinnati, man. I don't trust them. I would love to have Burrow be back, in the conversation with Mahomes, with Allen, with Lamar. But I just don't trust the Bengals. But I'm leaning Bengals. Think this will be a fun game. So if I had to take it, which I won't, I go Cincinnati minus 3.5. Giants, Cowboys, I already told you. I think Dallas is going to roll today. CD's going to have a big game. That Cowboys offense is going to put up 30, and the Giants just don't have the firepower to match them. So I take the Cowboys minus 5.5. Bears, Lions. Is Detroit as bad as what we saw last week? I don't think so. Are the Bears and Caleb Williams as bad as what we saw after he had started 10 of 10 in that game? I don't think so. Division game. The Chicago is supposed to be improved. I don't feel comfortable with this, and I'd stay away. But if I had to pick the game, I'd go Chicago plus 6.5. I still think the Bears lose it, but 6.5, which is right there, right under a touchdown, I go Detroit. My biggest question for Detroit this year was Jared Goff regression. Does he turn back into, pumpkin watch and then losing both your coordinators? How does that change your team? Rams on the road at Tennessee. I like the Rams in this game. Rams minus 5.5 feels like the play here. So I'd go with the Rams in this one. Patriots, Dolphins. I can't imagine feeling good if you're a Miami fan. That's a tough loss for New England last week. Drake May, not his best game. Patriots starting 0-2 after as high. I was so high on New England. I thought that this was a playoff team. Are they starting 0-2? Are they starting 0-2? I don't think so. I like Patriots in this game plus 1.5. I know Mac Jones is starting, but it's still the Saints, and I still trust Kyle Shanahan. I don't love the hook with 3.5 in San Francisco, but I think I'm taking San Francisco minus 3.5 in this game, and they're dealing with a ton of injuries. Kittle, and as I mentioned, Brock Purdy, because of Mac Jones, or because Brock Purdy's hurt, Mac Jones having to come in here. Buffalo, maybe you're going to call this a homer pick. I don't think the Jets win the game. I think that this is a closely contested, late field goal situation where once again the Jets break our hearts, but I like them to cover the 5.5. I also like the over in this game. Going to be 81 degrees at MetLife Stadium. I think we do get a high-scoring game. That Jet defense was not good last week. The Buffalo defense certainly was not good. Gave up, 41 points to Baltimore? And not that the Jets are the Ravens, but I think that this is a high-scoring game. Seattle in Pittsburgh to take on Aaron Rodgers fresh off of a 4-touchdown performance. Early MVP watch for Aaron Rodgers. I like the Steelers minus 3.5 in this game. Their defense is certainly going to be better than what we saw last week. Baltimore, I just can't touch. I cannot touch this game. I don't feel and Flacco was awful, and that's why Cincinnati was able to escape. But the Ravens, they played down. It's not even playing down to their competition. They take their foot off the gas pedal. That's what the Ravens do. They take their foot off the gas pedal, and they allow teams to hang around late and come back, and they'll end up winning the game. I took them in Survivor, but 11.5 is too big of a spread. Daniel Jones, does he come back down to earth? Daniel Jones, awesome in his debut for the Colts last week. Bo Nix, not so much. This is I think this is like a low-scoring game where I don't want to pick it. Oh my goodness, I'm going back and forth. I guess I'll take Denver, but that's a stay-away game for me. Panthers, awful last week against the Jags. They're on the road in Arizona. Kyler Murray coming off of a 2-touchdown performance. I like Arizona minus 6.5. The Panthers are going to be a train wreck. I think Kansas City wins this game outright. I already put this bet in. KC plus 1.5. I'm getting Patrick Mahomes as a home dog against an Eagles team that could be dealing with some questions on that defense. Jalen Carter avoids a suspension. The NFL felt like he served it in that game against the Cowboys. What's the over under on this? 46.5? Man. What is this, like a 27-20 type of game? I like Kansas City plus 1.5 tonight. I'm definitely taking The Falcons, J.J. McCarthy looked really good in that fourth quarter. They continue the momentum. I don't love the hook. I like Minnesota -3.5. And then give me Tampa Bay on the road outright to beat Houston. And then the Chargers, I think they continue with that momentum from that Friday night game. So I like them -3.5. Those are me going through all the games. I'm not going to bet all of them. I'm just telling you, if I had to pick the games, that's the direction I would go in. Ravens, Browns. You see, I'm trying to read this on my screen. Hang on. Do you see Delpit, the safety, and Henry chirping at each other? There could be some chirping in this game. Little AFC North rivalry. Listen, if I'm Derrick Henry, I just got to focus on not fumbling the football. That was the mistake that changed the outcome of that game. We're up to 126 views right now. We live right now. I got to get to church in a moment. I got to get to church in a little bit here, but you guys are keeping me active. Hit up the chat, y'all. I'm here. I want to hear from you guys. If you are fans of other teams, we can talk about these games. You can talk about these games. Doesn't have to be just Jets and Giants centric. Oh, Trey just hit me with that. What's on the menu today? Ask and they shall receive, my good brother, on this beautiful Sunday morning. I give you the Theo Huxtable. Shout out Theo Huxtable, man. R.I.P. Chopped cheese, beef bacon, lettuce to mayo, and yes, the Brooklyn Classic. He's bigging up Nathan's Franks. That, hop in, and I'm going to retweet this. I asked for this on the stream, and he showed us his breakfast for week 2. So I just retweeted Trey's sandwich. Yo, that chopped cheese. See, I can't really eat like that anymore, y'all. And I'm not trying to be that guy. I'm not trying to be holier than thou. Or talk like, But I can't eat like that anymore. Trying to get in shape, doing the whole running thing. Ran 8 miles this morning. I can't have breakfast like that. Trey looks really good, though. Looks great. But I try to stay with those sausages. No Diddy. Looking mad good. This was fun, y'all. I appreciate you guys hopping in the stream. We're going to do this, by the way, every single Sunday at about 9 a.m., hitting y'all with the Ty Butler Show. We're going to have some guests come on, maybe do some gambling. But we are doing this every single Sunday, and I'll be on every day as well. Those are subject to change, but the staple for this show will be Sundays, 9 a.m. So make sure y'all here. Tell your boys, tell your homies, your girls, whoever wants to pull up to the chat to watch, because we are inclusive on this program. You a sports fan? You want to talk about anything? Hit me up. We started with boxing. Trey, I know you was watching that fight last night. Masterclass by Bud Crawford. Absolute masterclass by Bud. I was rooting for him to win, and that was a tour de force on how you put the finishing touches, assuming he decides to hang it up, on a legendary Hall of Fame career. And as I was in bed, I got home in time. I was on SNY last night TV. Make sure you guys check it out. I put it on my X and my Instagram. I was on TV, rushing to get home. I made it in time to catch like the finale of the prelims. Who was it? Walsh and Vargas, I believe it was. And I'm watching this, rooting for Bud. But I'll be honest, I had some trepidation. I thought the uptick in weight was going to hurt him at some point in this fight, was going to exhaust him. And Canelo obviously is, considered the best, and rightfully so. But he went in there and gave him the business. Canelo was just frustrated. He spent the last couple rounds in that fight frustrated because he's used to dictating the pace, setting the tone. And Bud did not allow him to do that. Bud was on the ropes a lot of the night, able to get out of it. And there were many times where I was like, oh man, this is that moment where Canelo's going to throw a punch and hit Bud. And I don't know that Bud has a response to a Canelo haymaker, which, I mean, not too many people have a response to that Canelo haymaker. And I'm thinking Bud's legs are going to get tired. Again, the uptick in weight, and none of that came to fruition. He dictated the pace. He's up there laughing, feeling himself. And once I saw that later in the rounds, I was like, all right. I could not believe, because as much as I was rooting for Bud, I'm like, at some point, Canelo's going to turn this thing around, and it'll be, I was ready for the story after the game. Valiant effort by Bud, but Canelo did what he was supposed to do. That never happened. We get to round 10, round 11, and I'm like, dog, Crawford is about to win this fight. And they talked about this on the broadcast in round 12. That because you'll see some fighters when they know, you have an idea of when you know you've won the fight. And I know we see some shenanigans pop up, but that could not happen last night. It would have been such a bad look for boxing, Netflix, everything. There were too much was at stake. Too much was at risk. The question was, once you hit round 12, is Bud now going super conservative, knowing he won the fight, and just going to do everything in his power in the face of a super aggressive Canelo who's in desperation mode, who can knock you out? He's going to do everything in his power to shy away. And Bud was like, nah, this is my moment right here, dog. This is my announcement to the world that I am that dude. I'm that guy. I'm him. He was not ducking anything. He wanted the smoke in the final round, knowing he had already won the fight. Keying, smiling, doing all that. I loved it. Sensational night for boxing. Rarely during this day and age do we get the fights the fans actually want to see with the big names. And we got that, and it delivered, and it wasn't this boring, oh my God, snooze fest. Off the rip. It was static. And Bud was, doing his thing with the jabs. And Max brought this up on the broadcast. Excellent point. When he takes that hit from Canelo, whether it be a body shot or a hit up top, is he going to have enough energy to withstand that and continue going? And he just never took a big hit. I felt like Bud was in complete control of the entire fight. And think about that. Saying that about a Canelo Alvarez opponent, that the fighter he was up against was in complete control of the entire fight. How crazy is that, y'all? What we saw last night, this is not hyperbole. That was historic. Two of the biggest names in the sport, two of the most decorated fighters in the sport of boxing, going head to head in their respective primes. So much on the line, so much risk, so much at stake, with the world watching. They both agreed, let's give the fans what they want, and it's a win for both of them. Even though Canelo takes the L, nothing but love. Just salute, my brother. Salute to Canelo. You can't dislike Canelo Alvarez. Come on, y'all. Gracious, even in defeat. But Bud took it to him, man. That was a masterclass. A tour de force performance by Bud Crawford, who right now has every right to claim, I'm the best boxer on the planet. I'm the GOAT. And I'm so happy for him. I am so happy for Bud Crawford. Man, from Omaha, Nebraska. And I was in the group chat last night, me and my boys. And this is the silliness and the absurdity that boxing presents. Before we get on out of here, I'm a minute late to church. We watched the fight. We all know who won the fight. But as they're going to break, before they announce the winner, there's that brief moment of anxiety. Because we've seen far too many times they pull some shenanigans. Oh, it's rigged. Judges just acting all kinds of crazy, arriving at a decision that we know differs from our untrained eyes. We all watched it. Canelo Alvarez knew he lost. That's why he was so damn aggressive in those 11th and 12th rounds. He got frustrated. Bud Crawford frustrated him throughout that fight. We all watched it, and yet there's that brief pause and anxiety. We are awaiting something that would not shock us. Canelo Alvarez announced as the winner of this fight. But it didn't happen. And I'm not going to give boxing credit for that. The governing bodies, they're going to give them credit for that. That they didn't rig the fight. I didn't see, Trey, I didn't see Bud Crawford's comments about New York City after the game. What did he say? What did he say about New York City? I didn't see what he said. So hit me real quick. I got to get on out of here. Hit me real quick with what Bud said about New York City, because I didn't see it. He was going at New York City last night. He was going at New York City last night. I didn't see it. Hit me real quick with what he said. I'm trying to Google it. Bud Crawford. What did Bud Crawford say about New York City? I can't find it. But if you could get that. This was before the fight. He spoke of big markets, LA, New York City, and Vegas. But you say he didn't like the comments about my beloved New York City, but an absolute masterclass. Did he say something about big markets that was offensive? Well, you know, he's a small market dude from Omaha. So he's going to big up the small markets. But I didn't see what he said. I didn't see what he said. But he made history last night. He made history on every single level. Outclassed a guy who coming into that fight was considered the best on the planet and left that fight as the second best because Bud Crawford did what he did. He doubled back saying the classic lines, dirty, nasty, was a lot. I'll find it and send it to you. All right, hit me. Appreciate y'all hopping in the chat. Appreciate y'all hopping on the stream. This was a lot of fun to do. I'm going to be on a New York Post Sports post-game stream with my man Dexter Henry following the Jet game at about 5:15-ish. So we'll talk some Jets. I'll be back tomorrow. We'll talk some Jets and Giants. Recap week 2 in the NFL. Go and get to the Eagles and the Chiefs as well. So hit me, follow me, subscribe to the YouTube channel. I appreciate all the love. Holla at your boy. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday. And go get that church in, man. Go get a couple of scriptures in your spirit.